This is my take from podcast. If you want to listen summary of podcast, start with a free trial for detailed summaries on Apple Podcasts and Spotify using link in descriptions and support with tips on Patreon. Here is key point discussed in podcast Malala, the truth behind the attack. She was just 15 years old when she was attacked by the Taliban, and yet she had already been an activist for years, speaking out against the Taliban's restrictions on girls' education. It's amazing to think about the courage and resilience she showed, even at such a young age. And what's really interesting is how Malala talks about how she was defined by the world before she even had a chance to define herself. She was seen as a brave and courageous activist, and she felt like she had to live up to that image. And it's really inspiring to see how Malala has taken control of her own narrative, how she's used her platform to speak out for girls' education and to challenge the Taliban's ideology. And it's not just Malala's story that's inspiring, it's also the story of her father, who was a true feminist and who supported Malala's activism from a young age. He's the one who encouraged her to speak out, who helped her to write her blog and to share her story with the world. And it's clear that he had a huge impact on Malala's life, that he helped her to develop the courage and confidence to stand up for what she believed in. She says that education is the key to unlocking a girl's potential, that it's the only way for girls to have equal opportunities and to make their own choices. And it's clear that she's passionate about this issue, that she's dedicated her life to fighting for girls' education. And it's not just Malala's passion that's inspiring, it's also her perspective. She talks about how she was forced to flee her home, how she had to leave behind everything she knew and loved. And yet, despite all of that, she's still hopeful. She's still optimistic about the future. She believes that change is possible, that we can create a world where girls have equal opportunities and where they can live without fear. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that Malala's life changed in an instant. One moment, she was a normal 15-year-old girl, and the next, she was fighting for her life after being attacked by the Taliban. The trauma she experienced is unimaginable, and it's heartbreaking to think about the emotional toll it took on her. She talks about how she couldn't even cry when she first woke up in the hospital, and how it wasn't until she saw her family that she broke down. It's like her body was in shock, and she couldn't process her emotions. What's really striking is how Malala's experience with trauma and PTSD has affected her life. She talks about how she had flashbacks and panic attacks, and how she felt like she was reliving the attack all over again. It's like her mind was stuck in that moment, and she couldn't escape it. And the worst part is that she felt like she was alone in all of this. She didn't have anyone to talk to, and she didn't know how to process her emotions. But what's amazing is how Malala has used her experience to help others. She talks about how she shifted the Malala Fund to help girls around the world get an education, and how she's become a symbol of hope and courage for so many people. It's like she's taken this traumatic experience and turned it into something positive. And it's not just about her, it's about all the girls who are fighting for their right to an education. She talks about how she didn't get therapy right away, and how it wasn't until years later that she sought help. And it's like she's saying, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to talk about your emotions and your struggles. Because the truth is, we're all struggling with something, and we all need help sometimes. She's not just a symbol of courage and hope, she's a real person who has struggled with real emotions and real trauma. And she's using her platform to help others, to make a difference in the world. It's like she's saying, I've been through this, and I've come out the other side. She shares how she had to process and accept her husband's love for her, and how that journey helped her to love herself more. It's such a powerful reminder that we can't give others guarantees, but we can choose to accept and trust the love that's being offered to us. Malala also talks about how her husband, Asar, grew up with 3 moms, and has a very open-minded and respectful view of women. She says that he's an amazing person, but also notes that it's not something that should be praised as exceptional, it's just basic human decency. When it comes to her own experiences with marriage and relationships, Malala shares how she had to navigate the expectations of her family and culture. She talks about how she had to think carefully about whether she wanted to get married, and how she ultimately decided that it was the right choice for her. But she also emphasizes that marriage shouldn't be seen as the only option for women, and that we should be working to create a world where women have the freedom to choose their own path. I'm also struck by Malala's reflections on her own sense of belonging and identity. She talks about how she struggled to find a sense of home and belonging, especially after being forced to leave Pakistan. But she also shares how she's found a sense of belonging in different places and communities around the world, and how she's learned to appreciate the beauty of diversity and difference. She talks about how her foundation, the Malala Fund, is working to support education activists in countries like Nigeria and Pakistan, and how she's seen firsthand the impact that these efforts can have on girls' lives. It's such a powerful reminder that we all have the power to make a difference, and that even small actions can add up to create big change. She reminded herself that even though she's disappointed by the state of the world, the work is in action, and it's happening. She emphasized the importance of supporting education activists, doing advocacy, and empowering girls' voices. Malala also talked about the importance of education, and how it's not just about building schools, but also about addressing the cultural and social norms that prevent girls from getting an education. She shared an example from her parents' village in Pakistan, where once a school was built, and girls shifted getting an education, the norms shifted changing, and people realized the power of education. She emphasized that educated and empowered women can actually help men in their families, reduce the burden on boys, and contribute to the family income. She said that when women are educated, they can contribute to the family, reduce the burden on boys, and help men in their families. Malala also shared her thoughts on child marriage and how it's still a big issue in many countries. She emphasized the importance of changing the culture around child marriage and using storytelling and media to raise awareness about the issue. She also talked about the importance of holding people accountable for child marriage and making it illegal in every country. When asked about peace, Malala said that she hopes for world peace, and that it's not just about being at peace with oneself, but also about creating a world where everyone can live in peace. She shared her personal experiences of living under war and violence, and how it's affected her and many others. She emphasized the importance of speaking out against war and violence, and working towards creating a more peaceful world. Malala also had a powerful message for young girls who may be feeling hopeless about the state of the world. She reminded them that they have the capacity to drive change, and that they shouldn't wait for someone else to make it happen. She encouraged them to be the change makers and to shift things and drive change. Malala talked about the importance of creating laws that protect girls' rights and holding people accountable for violating those rights. She emphasized the importance of recognizing the ban on education in Afghanistan as an international crime and holding the Taliban accountable for it. She also talked about the importance of changing as people and doing things differently and challenging ourselves to be better.